The first person who can tell me the plot of the embodiment of Scarlet Devil gets pinned in the comments. Hey there, kids, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Uncle Frank, hoping that you are having a great day. And in today's video, that was a weak clap there. In today's video, we are going to be returning to Final Fantasy Universes Beyond yet again, as we have finally slipped into the 1 week post-release check-in period, and boy, this has been an absolute doozy of a release week. And in this video, I kind of want to go over what my initial predictions for this set were, what I got right, what I got wrong, and summarize where I think this set is going to go going forward, which is a weird sentence now that I say it out loud. Two disclaimers before we begin. I'm hoping that this will be the final Fantasy video I do on the channel for at least a while. It has consumed a lot of the news cycle with regards to Magic the Gathering. A lot of channels have covered it, and I know that I'm not the best person to talk about it, so I just kind of want to give my quick opinions and leave it at that and move on. Second disclaimer. If you are one of the online super geniuses who is absolutely frothing at the mouth furious over a Magic the Gathering box being $1,000 only a week after release, if you think that this price is incorrect and that it's going to come down, if you think a restock is happening, if you think a reprint is happening of the Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy collector boxes, I'm here to tell you that this video is not for you and that you should just click off and go do something else with your time. That said, let's talk about Final Fantasy. About 4 months ago now, I made a video talking about where I thought this set was going to be in terms of performance. I made a few guesses, and then since then I've made further guesses on other videos and on Discord, just talking with my friends. And I got some things right. I got some things very wrong. And with the power of hindsight and actual post-release data, I have some further predictions about where this set's going. So, first off, what I got right. The very first prediction I made about this set was that it was going to blow Lord of the Rings out of the water, and it was going to outperform every other set. And newsflash, that obviously wasn't the biggest brain prediction out there, but yeah. As of the filming of this video, Final Fantasy collector boxes have been bouncing off the $1,200 price point all day. As more and more hit $1,200, more and more people get their 1 or 2 booster boxes listed on TCG Player trying to make a quick buck. And it can seem like there's a bit of a downward pressure there, but no, the sales are still coming. There are still people buying. When I looked this morning, it looked like there was an average of 1 sale an hour, 1.5 sales per hour. But obviously that could have changed. The sheer velocity of sales for this set has honestly been quite surprising. I thought there was going to be a bit of a slowdown after release, especially with the $900 price tag it had at release. I was very convinced that we were going to see a slowdown and people were going to reevaluate that price tag, but no, I was definitely wrong about that. Another thing I was right about was the sheer fervor Final Fantasy fans were going to have about this set. I didn't think it would be this ballistic, but I knew even back when this set was first announced that Final Fantasy fans who are already used to spending a lot of money on their favorite franchise, I knew that they were going to be big spenders here. I knew that they were going to be helping drive some prices up, whether it be singles or sealed product. I just, I obviously did not foresee a $1,000 box a week after release. So there's that. One thing I got wrong, and one thing I got very wrong, was the trajectory of the loose singles. I was very confident that this was going to be the most opened set in Magic history, or at the very least in recent memory. Okay, I was very confident that because of that, there would be an absolute deluge of singles available on the market, and that would put a lot of downward pressure on the prices. This comes from both we've seen this with plenty of other sets, not just Magic, but Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, etc. We've seen post-release pushdowns of pricing across the board for basically every TCG, but I was also sure that this would be exacerbated by those Final Fantasy fans. Well, I was only sort of kind of half right, mostly wrong. Yeah, there is definitely a deluge of product being put on the market. There's a lot of singles going on to TCG Player. But the sheer demand for those singles is enough that the higher end ones, especially the borderless surge foils, those really aren't seeing much of a dip in price. In fact, it's the opposite. On release day, we saw a major release dip, and then ever since then, we've been seeing prices either correct to where they were or climbing higher. I don't have a card by card basis, but I was definitely expecting some of these prices to be lower. And there's going to be other channels who are looking at this, who are going to be able to give you a much better in-depth breakdown of card by card prices since release or even since pre-release. And let me tell you, I've been looking at some of these prices and I'm going, I was definitely wrong about that. Where do I think... Oh, the other prediction I made was that the play booster boxes were going to be readily available. From everything I could find online, that appears to be true. Play booster boxes can still be acquired for at or under MSRP, not just at local stores, but online on marketplaces, eBay, TCG Player. I was very correct when I say that you should not be buying these for $400. I still can't believe people were buying those for $400. But hey, I do think now, with the gift of hindsight, with the gift of post-release data, that at MSRP or below MSRP, at the $210, $200 price range, I do think that play boosters are probably the best alternative you're going to get to collector boosters in terms of long-term holds. I do firmly believe that these are going to appreciate well once their print time is up. I don't know what the print time is going to be. I don't even know. Just looking at other recent Magic sets that have done well, Bloomborough, for instance, and Jumpstart. No, not Jumpstart. Is it Jumpstart? I can't remember the name of that. It's got to be Jumpstart, right? In terms of other Magic sets recently that have done well, as I forget the Magic set names, we're not entirely sure what the availability for these is going to be going forward. Wizards of the Coast seems to be committed to this 3-year standard rotation for sets. That tells me that these are going to be available for a while from distribution. Is that necessarily true? You never know. But it leaves me optimistic that they will be available. But, this is a big but, in my opinion. With collector boxes being over $1,000, there are going to be people who very much want Final Fantasy cards to invest in, who are going to look at play boosters as the next best alternative. And after the set's print run is over, after we are approaching the end of its standard life cycle, I think it's going to be better and better, harder and harder to justify not purchasing them for the long-term holds. So there's just that. There's my opinion. The other thing that I want to kind of guess at in terms of future prices is, look, it took a week. 1 week. It took 1 week for collector boxes to hit $1,000 and then start climbing above that. It is no understatement to say that this is the best performing Magic product of all time in terms of sheer demand and price appreciation. The singles are being eaten up as fast as they're being added to the market. The boxes are being eaten up as fast as they're being added to the market. So with that in mind, for the foreseeable future, I do see collector boxes. I see collector boxes hitting $2,000 sooner rather than later. And I think a lot of people on the market, a lot of people who are looking at the state of Final Fantasy as a product, as a buy, sell, hold kind of item, I think a lot of them are approaching this with that expectation in mind. I think there's a lot of people who are looking at the current $1,000 price tag that this set has managed to sit on for a few days now, or probably a day or two. They're looking at this $1,000 price tag with the full expectation of what's out there is out there, right? There is no more coming. There is no more collector boxes coming to market, okay? Unless, one store managed to get 1,000 of them and flood them out there. But even then, will that 1,000 last? If that happened, if a theoretical 1,000 extra boxes came to market tomorrow, how long would those last? How much downward pressure would that really put on the price tag? There's only so much of these available, and the people who want them really want them. What price tag are some of these high-end collectors who are willing to shell out? They're already willing to shell out $1,000, right? What price tag are they going to say no to? A lot of people are going to be asking themselves that question. What's the price where people are unwilling to buy it? Is $2,000 that price tag? I don't know. But I do think that more and more of these are going to be bought up with the $2,000 price point as maybe not an expectation, but a hope. There's going to be a lot of people buying into this, hoping that it hits 2K. The other thing that I kind of want to speculate on is I think we're going to see more commander decks come to market. Maybe not. I've been talking to a lot of people, getting a lot of opinions about this, so obviously this is not my own idea. This is not my exclusive speculation. There we go. That's the word. Jeez, I'm so bad at this. When Warhammer 40K collector decks were hitting the market, we were seeing several waves of restocks available for those, which kept their prices down for a bit. With what we know about the collector boosters, their availability, and the apprehension Wizards of the Coast has to kick their golden goose, I no longer think that the collector variants of the Magic the Gathering commander decks, I no longer think we're going to be seeing multiple waves of them. We still might, but I'm no longer confident about that like I was before. With that said, even with multiple reprint waves of the normal commander decks for Magic the Gathering, Final Fantasy, even if we get several print waves of those, I still think that those are going to be excellent sealed products to pick up, the cases. Look, Commander is just the most popular format, right? Final Fantasy is very popular. There's no denying that. So I think that those are going to perform well over time. Perhaps the best, next to the Commander boxes, obviously. I still think that the 2-player starter kit is the best item for people who are just looking to try Magic the Gathering out. And I believe that anybody who's able to find collector packs at their local Walmart, Target, CVS, pharmacy, whatever have you, if you're able to find those at MSRP there, scoop them up. Just grab them if you can. If you see them, buy them. No one's going to blame you. No one's going to tell you that that's a bad choice. But yeah, I'm kind of hoping that this will be the last I talk about Final Fantasy, at least for a while. Maybe if it hits 2,000 a box, I'll come back and talk about it again at some point. But I've still got a backlog of videos. Someone's been pestering me about Star Trek, the Star Trek TCG from Decipher. So make sure to shimmy that up to the top of the list at some point. Get around to talking about that at some point soon. There's some other things I want to talk about too. Not just in the world of dead TCGs, but in terms of we saw some spoilers today for Edge of Eternities and Avatar: The Last Airbender. There's some exciting things going on there. Lorwyn, we finally getting some set details about Lorwyn. So there's a lot to talk about. I'm not sure when I'll get around to discussing all of it, but... Oh, and some reserve list stuff. There's been some reserve list things that I've been keeping an eye on that I want to talk about at some point too. So I'm not sure that all of those are going to get videos, but at some point I want to talk about all of it. Maybe just in a channel update. Who knows? But there's definitely some things to be excited about in the world of Magic the Gathering. Maybe, just maybe, it's not all heading down the shitter. But that's a discussion for another day. Thank you so much for being patient, sitting here with me and watching this video. If you enjoyed, please leave a like. Consider subscribing. Let me know what you think about my predictions so far, or my general opinion towards the set in the comment section below, and I will see you all in the next one. Ciao.